Is 5. It is time to go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining me again. Live at 5 here with James and you. And Friday edition. So, doing something a little bit different. I hope a little bit inspirational going into the weekend. Yeah. So, let's do this. In the breaking news item, yeah, public speaking and doing live video still sucks. This is something that popped up really earlier this week, basically, and I really get nervous when I do this kind of stuff. I actually used to have a job where I would travel around and I would lead sales meetings and I would speak at conferences and I would teach classes. And every single time I had to get up there and speak in front of people live, like obviously like the real time, right? It was always a huge challenge for me. And I came later in life to kind of realize, hey, if something is a challenge, that is something I should do. And that did not make sense to me as a young child. My mother can tell you that I avoided all challenges as a child. I wanted things to be easy. I wanted things to be not easy necessarily, but comfortable and familiar. And I didn't like trying new stuff. Probably because I thought that I wouldn't do well at it or be perfect at it. So I've been getting into this topic with a lot of my agents and people who have attended some of our trainings about, hey, look, the real way to kind of engage with an audience is to do stuff live, right? It's unscripted. It's who the real person is. They get to really know you. It's better than a phone call or a text or an email, certainly, right? So how do you actually get in there and start doing this stuff? And I just want to share a couple of things that from my experience, like some key concepts that once they were embedded in my head, I was at least comfortable enough to do it. You know what I mean? To like hit the button and go. So my first thing that I want to talk about with respect to this, with respect to how to like do live videos, to engage with your audience, to engage with people who want to find a cool realtor to work with so that they can buy a house or sell their house or whatever it might be, is that preparation does go a long way. And you definitely want to know, if you're doing a live video, what kind of you want to say. And go over it a few times in your head. Maybe when you're in the shower, just run through it a few times, right? Have that preparation there. But the real danger you want to avoid is being on the script, because like that just kills it, right? That can kill a phone call. Like if you're calling someone, that's essentially a cold call, right? You're reaching out to a list of people who, showed interest in a house or something, like maybe 6 months ago, and you want to talk to these people. If you word for word exactly what you're going to say on the call, it's going to sound robotic. It's going to sound impersonal. There's not going to be that kind of personal touch. And you can feel the walls going up, right? You can feel the connection being shattered between you and that other human being. So you definitely want to prepare and know what you want to say, but you don't want to just read off of a script, because also imagine doing that in a like face to face with somebody, and you're like on a date and you had like a cue card down here about what am I going to say to this girl. You don't want to do that. But there is a double-edged sword when it comes to that preparation. And this is something that continues to be a huge challenge for me. And that is that the way I say it, and this has been said a ton of different ways and different, arrangement of words are said in different ways, but I say perfect is the enemy of progress. And I am a perfectionist. Always was. And I think that that dates back to why I was afraid to do stuff, because I wanted to do it like really well right away. And it translated into everything. I was crippled when it came to cooking, like in being in the kitchen, because this paralysis of thinking, well, if it doesn't turn out well, then I'll have to jump off of my balcony. It's it's a very strange irrational fear, that if it's not going to be perfect, it's going to be, you know, it's just going to be not worth doing. This is not true. You have to simply just do things. I mean, it sounds reductive that you have to go and just do a thing, right? But it's actually true. Each time you do it, you'll get a little bit better at it. You'll get a little more comfortable with it. You'll find things to tweak about, the videos that you're posting. You will find ways to just improve the process, right? So the only thing you just have to get reps in, and that is the success, right? We talk about being successful at something like, oh, someone's so great at doing live videos, someone's so great at public speaking, and the reason that they're successful is not because of their current state. The reason they're successful is because they just went and did it a bunch of times, and they got up there to do it again. So it's like, that is what success really is. Knocking something out of the park, I mean, that's an outcome. And we're going to talk a little bit more before I'm done here today about outcomes. So perfect example of progress. Just get in there and do it. Don't worry about screwing it up. Don't be afraid to jump off the cliff. You'll probably break your back, but it'll get better, So, and then the third thing is that people's opinions don't matter. And the only reason I said it this way was because it starts with a P, and then I realized, like, oh, all three of my little points here start with P. Isn't that cool? Well, people's opinions to some extent do matter. You don't want to just piss people off all the time, regardless of trample over people's feelings, right? But the core irrational fear behind speaking in public or doing live stuff or putting yourself in front of people is, what if they don't like me? What if they don't like it? What if somebody doesn't like it? Right. And that, for me, I remember the first time I did a keynote speech. I got in the night before, got into the hotel room, and then I was due up on the podium at like 8 or 8:30 or something. It was like a morning session. And I almost quit my job. I literally almost quit my job because I was so afraid of it. And I had a whole long night of like ironing the shit out of my suits and just kind of walking around the hotel or just laying on the bed wondering how I was going to get through this. And it occurred to me that the baseline fear that I had of public speaking was literally that I would die. I was somehow going to die. And as soon as I realized that I wasn't going to die, I actually Brandy. Thank you. I actually wasn't going to die. Like, someone wasn't going to hate my speech so much that they would come up there with a dinner knife and stab me, that there was no threat of death. I could say, oh, well, you know what? At least I won't die. I'll get up there and I'll do it. And I got up there and I did it. And I'm sure it was trash, but I felt more comfortable about doing it next time. And I remember the words of Jim Rohn, not Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn, one of my super old school public speaker. He's like a godfather in the self-development. Why am I blanking on what Jim Rohn does? He's like a inspirational speaker. I don't know. I'm missing it right now. But the guy said anytime that you're interacting with a person and you get that fear of, well, what if they don't like it? What if they don't go for it? Right? Just say to yourself, well, isn't that interesting? And leave it at that. It's so simple that it works. It's just like, oh, okay, maybe you like it. Isn't that interesting? Like, okay. And then it sort of rolls off the back, right? So that all had to come together over a period of years for me. And then I just started doing stuff. One thing that also helps is like if you start doing live videos and whatnot about just topics that you enjoy, that you know a lot about, that maybe aren't the thing that you like is your job. So if maybe you're a real estate agent, but you love bicycling, start a TikTok about bicycling, and then do tons of live video about bicycling. And then you will be building skills that you can translate over into, interacting with people that are potential home buyers. So that is what I wanted to start with. That was my breaking news. The public speaking still sucks. I don't think it's ever not going to suck. And yeah, I think people that are like really, really good at it, I bet you if you ask them, they say that they're still scared and they're still nervous too, which is interesting. I find that to be very fascinating. I can't figure out exactly why that is happening, but it has something to do with just burying it. I don't know. Maybe we'll get there someday. Here's the inspirational piece that I wanted to talk about today going into the weekend. If anyone catches this and they've got open houses or they've got showings that they're doing or whatever it is that they're doing this weekend with their clients, I wanted to share a book that literally changed my life, literally changed how I fundamentally saw the universe. Now, this sounds like a very big deal. And it didn't on its own change all that, but it was a huge piece of the puzzle for me. And the book is this, right? It's called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. And Annie Duke is a world champion poker player. And she ended up coming to an office in Chicago that I worked at and giving us a talk. And then I thought her talk was awesome. And then I read her book and it blew me away. And it blew me away because I wish I should find a way to like prop it up, kind of like in the back or something. I'll just hang on to it. The reason it blew me away was because I was raised to think in terms of certainty. What is right? What is wrong? This is true. That is false. And my opinion is true and yours is false or whatever it is. And everything can be known. And in her book, she kind of points out that makes no sense. That the way the world actually works is probabilities. And our information is never complete about how to make decisions. So, when you have a poker hand, you can have a really, really good hand that then when you play it, you still lose, right? Or you can have a really bad hand and still win. So the big important lesson from Thinking in Bets was that the outcome doesn't matter. And the important thing is, what are you doing? What are the inputs? How accurate is your information before you make a decision? And then once you make a decision, what are you doing? What are the actions that you're taking on the front end will influence an outcome, right? You can increase or decrease the percentage of a positive or a preferable outcome. But ultimately, if something doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out, you didn't screw up, right? You made a good decision. And I'm actually just realizing that this ties in a lot with, like, I didn't plan this, but I'm wearing this Paddy gear the stuff that I got when I became a scuba diving instructor. I was a scuba diving instructor in 2019, or like basically late 2019 and the first half of 2020. And I was living in Hawaii, and then the pandemic happened. And I decided to go be a scuba diving instructor after a career in tech because I wanted to do something that made me feel more alive and that I could be truly passionate about. And so I quit a very profitable career in tech, and then I kind of sold all my stuff and moved down to Florida. Got a job randomly, somehow ended up getting a job in Hawaii, and I was out there living the dream and doing the scuba job. And it's like being at a poker table and there's a huge amount of money that's at stake for that hand, right? There's a just giant pile of chips in the middle of the table. And you are holding a straight flush. You are literally holding like the ace through 10 or whatever of spades, and you're just like, I'm winning this. I'm going to run this thing up. Like, I know I'm going to win this thing. I know I'm going to win this thing. And then you lay it out onto the table, and the other guy's got the royal flush. Boom. You lose. You're out. You know what I mean? Did you make a bad decision by betting a lot of money on that straight flush? Nope. That was a great decision. That was I highly recommend doing that anytime that you have that hand, right? So I think that I really think that people need to stop beating themselves up when they make a good move, but it just doesn't turn out. Like you call 100 people that are potential home buyers, and all of them, like all 100 of them, tell you to go pound sand, right? Did you make the bad decision by calling these people, and are you a bad person for calling these people? Nope, absolutely not. Brandy, you're great at public speaking if you consider these live videos. So I do. And that suggestion to start a TikTok with your own personal thing is great to gather rapport. Funny, I literally had that idea as I was talking. It just kind of was like, hey, that would be a great idea. You're aware with your words that makes me want to pay attention. You make an excellent teacher. Great job, James. Thank you so much, Brandy. That means a lot. It means a lot to me. Also, I miss you. So that one goes deep for me. I have had a lot of stuff in my life where I just sort of did something and it just didn't work, right? And cold calling was no exception to that rule. I had a job last year where I was an appointment setter for a COVID testing laboratory, startup laboratory down in Tampa, Florida. And I was calling clinics and family practices and urgent care centers and people who were COVID testing homeless people all across the state of Florida, right around when the Omicron wave hit. And these people, I called thousands of these places, and maybe 3 actually like wanted to have a conversation, and one of them agreed to sign up, and then I don't think that they even followed through. It was a mess. And then COVID kind of just disappeared, as like February of 2021, and then it was like, or was it 2022? I'm messing up my dates, but you get the idea. It's never easy, but the inputs matter. The outcome does not matter. I'll end it with this thought, right? In the sales world, you have what's called leading indicators and lagging indicators. How much money you make in a month, that's a lagging indicator. That does not actually help you understand whether or not you made good decisions. Leading indicators are what you want to focus on, right? How many interactions did you have with your current referral partners? How many people did you strike up a new relationship with? How many, whatever. So it's just like, I'm sure there's someone who knows more about like what are the really important leading indicators in the world of mortgage and real estate. But you get my point, right? Do the things that lead to the outcome that you want, and don't worry about what that outcome actually is. Just keep trying on that leading stuff and doing more and being smarter, right? Tweak the processes, find new ways. If it's not working, pivot, right? And eventually you'll get there. Eventually it'll work. All right. That is it. That's going to be it for me. Have a phenomenal weekend, everybody. I don't have much planned myself, but I hope that you have lots of fun stuff going on, and I don't know how to end these things. So I'm just going to say au revoir, and I'll see you on Monday.